Hey guys, it's Aaron, and I'm gonna go over a pre-trip inspection on a commercial vehicle. We're gonna do the A section, which is from the bumper to the firewall. First off, we're gonna look at our bumper here, make sure that it's securely mounted to our frame, make sure that it's not rusting through, that things aren't hanging off, that it's all welded up, not rusting through, securely mounted to our frame. Make sure our license plate is securely mounted, not falling off. Because it's a snowplow truck, I have all these hydraulic lines, an actuator, and a hydraulic pump. So I'm going to go over that, check all my lines, make sure that they're not worn through, they're not leaking, that everything's that's secured to our frame. Make sure it's all ready, good and go, it's not leaking, it's in good shape. Next, we're going to look at our hood here, make sure that it's securely mounted to our frame, and look at the overall condition of our hood, our grill, make sure that it's not damaged, that it's securely mounted. Check my hood latches here, make sure they're securely mounted and they work. Check all my lights, make sure that they're securely mounted, that they're not fading, that they're the correct color. Make sure that they properly work. I'm going to open up the hood here. We're going to move over to the passenger side, which is the side we'll start out. Over here I have my washer fluid reservoir. Make sure that it's securely mounted, that if it's low on fluid, add some more. Check my coolant reservoir here, make sure it's securely mounted, that if I'm below the fill line, add it, but make sure I don't go over the max. And then I'm going to check my alternator here, make sure it's securely mounted to my motor. Check all the electrical lines coming off of it, that they're not frayed, cracked, or wires exposed. And then just below it over here I have my water pump. Check to see that it's securely mounted, that it's not leaking. Check that the belt on it's good. Check the bushings, make sure that those are good. We're gonna move over to driver's side now. But on this side, I'd want to look at all the hoses and any other electrical lines that I have and make sure that they're securely mounted to something, that they're not worn through, that they're not leaking, no wires are exposed, they're all in overall good condition. So move on over to the driver's side. Over here, I have my power steering reservoir. Make sure that's securely mounted. Check to see how much liquid's in there. Make sure it's at a good proper height, not below the fill line. If it is, fill it up. I have my oil. Check my engine oil, make sure that's between the add and the fill line, otherwise add some more. Transmission fluid, check that, sure it's between the add and the fill line. And then down here I have my air compressor that is gear driven. Check that it's secured, that it's not leaking air when the truck's on. Check to make sure that all my air hoses coming off it are in good condition, that they're not worn through, that they're securely mounted and in good condition to use. And then my alternator and my water pump over there were belt driven, so I'm gonna look at my belt, make sure I don't have more than 3/4 play in it, make sure my belt's in good condition. Over here is my fuel pump, make sure that's securely mounted too. This is gear driven, none of the hoses and lines are leaking. Make sure that all the hoses and lines are in good shape, nothing's leaking on it. Just like on the passenger side, on the driver's side, I'm going to look over all the hoses, the lines, electrical lines, make sure that they're secure, that they're not leaking, that they're not rubbed through, that no line's exposed, and overall good condition. Now I have my drive. My steering shaft here, make sure that it's securely mounted, that it's not cracked, that it's mounted up correctly. Check my U-joints here, make sure that those are greased, still connected and in place. Here's my gearbox, make sure that's securely mounted to my frame, that it's not leaking, any hoses coming to it are not leaking, that they're secure to it. Over here is my drag link, my pitman arm, make sure my pitman arm's securely mounted, it's not cracked, it's not damaged. Take a look at my drag link, make sure that's securely mounted, not cracked, not damaged. Over here I have my upper and my lower control arm. Make sure that both of those are securely mounted, not cracked, not damaged. I'm going to check the upper and lower control arm on my passenger side as well. Check my tie rod that's going across to my passenger side. Make sure that it's securely mounted, it's not cracked, it's not damaged, it's not broken. And then I have 4 castle nuts with cotter keys, 3 on the driver's side, 1 on the passenger side. Make sure that they're all present and the pins are in place. Next, I'm going to look at my suspension. So I'm going to look at my springs themselves, make sure that they're not cracked, they're not damaged, that all my springs are in place. I'm going to look at my spring holders, both the front and the back, make sure it's securely mounted to the frame, that it's securely mounted to my springs, they're not cracked or damaged. Excuse me. I'm going to look at my U-bolts in my saddle here, check to make sure that they're not cracked or damaged, that they're securely mounted, that they're not loosed, I can't move them. I'm going to look at my shock absorber here, make sure that's securely mounted with bushings on the top and the bottom. Bushings are in place, that's not rusted through, it's not leaking. I'm going to follow my air lines to my front air brake chambers, make sure that these are securely mounted, not rusted through, not leaking, that it's connected to my slack adjuster here, and securely mounted to my push rod. Make sure my pins are in place, make sure that my push rod's not rusted through, not damaged, secure. Make sure it's all in working order with no more than an inch of play. Next, we're going to move down to my brake drums over here. Check my brake drum to make sure that it's not cracked, warped, or damaged. It's not contaminated with oil. Check my brake shoes on my brake drums. Make sure that they're not worn down too thin, that they're not contaminated, that I have at least 1/4 of an inch left on my brake shoes. And then I'm going to check my inner and outer hub seal. I'll know that my inner seal is bad if I got oil sitting on my drums and my shoes. On my inner and on my outer, you can check it here, make sure that it's not leaking. I know if my outer seal is bad. I'm gonna look at my rim now, check it over, make sure that there's no illegal welds, there's no rust holes, that there's no dents, no damage to it. Make sure that I have my metal valve stem down here with the valve cap. Then I'm going to check on my lug nuts, make sure that they're all tight, see that there's no fresh rust or fresh new rust or any metal flakes. Make sure I have all my lug nuts and that they're not just hand tight, that they're torqued down, good to go. Next, I'm going to overlook my tires, make sure that I have at least 4/32 of tread depth, no less, that there's no damage to the sidewalls or the tire and the tread itself. Make sure that there's no bulges, that it's properly inflated to the manufacturer spec, and that it's wearing evenly. And then that'll pretty much sum it up for, or wait, gonna look at the frame both on the front or on the passenger and the driver's side. Make sure that the frame, that it doesn't have large rust spots, that it's not cracking, it's not damaged, no illegal drill holes or welds. And with the suspension, the air brakes, the drums, the shoes, the tires, the rims, all that I will also look at on the passenger side, but it's just easier to explain it on one side. And you'll want to do a pre-trip inspection before every time you drive your commercial vehicle, no matter how long it takes. Usually it'll take about 30 minutes, but that's just how it goes. Thank you for watching, and that's simple pre-trip inspection.